Today, we're going to dig into this really fascinating text that proposes a radical idea, a shortcut to completely transform yourself. We're talking about a path to becoming something more, something immortal. So let's just dive right in. So let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever felt, well, stuck? Like there are these core parts of you, your temper, maybe your anxieties, certain habits, that just feel impossible to shake, no matter what you do. Well, this text says there's a very, very deep reason for that. The whole thing really hinges on this one central concept. It's called Xing, which is pronounced Xing, and it basically means nature. Now, according to this text, everything in the universe, you, me, a rock, a tree, has an intrinsic nature. And this isn't just about personality. No, it's way deeper. It's something that's baked into the fundamental structure of a thing. Okay, to make this super clear, just think about water. The nature of water, the fact that it's wet, that it flows, that's all determined by its molecular structure, right? H2O. If you wanted to change the fundamental nature of water, you'd have to change that H2O structure. Well, the text argues that we're exactly the same. Our human nature is determined by this invisible essential blueprint. So if you want to truly change who you are at your core, you'd have to figure out a way to alter that fundamental essence. And of course, here's the catch. The text says you can change this deep, invisible structure, but only through consciousness, through incredibly dedicated, focused practice. And we're not talking about a weekend workshop here. The text describes a process that could take hundreds of years. Hundreds. Why? Because our consciousness isn't simple. It's all tangled up in our being, in every single memory and moment we've ever lived.
So, if the direct path takes literally longer than a single lifetime, what are we supposed to do? Are we just stuck? Is there another way, a faster way maybe? Well, that's the exact question the text poses, and this is where things get really, really interesting.
And the solution it offers is kind of stunning. It's so simple on the surface. Basically, it says, forget about spending centuries trying to change your deep inner structure. That's the hard way. The shortcut is to just live as if you are already an immortal. It's a behavioral path. You embody the traits, you act the part, and eventually your state of being will follow. Okay, so act like an immortal. What does that even mean, right? Thankfully, the text gives us a very specific blueprint. 8 core traits that define this whole state of being. Let's break them down. The first 2 traits are all about this idea of radical freedom. First, follow fate freely. That basically means you accept whatever comes your way without putting up a fight. Then, own nothing, have no ties. And this is huge. It means complete detachment, not just from your stuff, but from your emotional baggage too. It's about being totally untethered from the world. Next up is how an immortal acts. They act spontaneously, totally guided by the moment, not by some rigid set of rules or a 5-year plan. This leads right into the second idea here. Act by not acting. You might have heard of this. It's the Taoist concept of wu wei, or effortless action. It's like instead of trying to force things, you just find the natural flow of the universe and you ride it. Okay, this is where it gets really, really challenging for most of us. The emotional state of an immortal is a total paradox. You're supposed to be affectionate with everyone, but never get so deeply attached that it causes you to suffer. Then there's this. Be neither compassionate nor sad. Now that sounds kind of cold, right? But the idea here is that those powerful emotions can become chains. They can bind you. And for an immortal, the number one priority always is freedom. And finally, how does an immortal deal with other people? Well, it's pretty simple. They don't get into conflicts. No arguments, no competition. They're just kind of above all that. Instead, their whole vibe is about lightness and ease. They're the kind of person you can just chat and laugh with because there's no ego or hidden agenda getting in the way. So you're listening to all this, you've got the blueprint, you're ready to start, and then the author just hits you with this. After laying out this beautiful, aspirational path, the text just pulls the rug out from under us. It flat out says that a normal person can't achieve any of these traits. Not a single one. And to prove this point, the text gets brutally practical. It asks you to imagine something. Could you really embody that first trait, to roam without restraint? If you were locked in a prison, you're surrounded by filth, by enemies, you're forced to eat roots to survive. In those conditions, could you honestly find that feeling of carefree freedom? And it pushes even harder. Think about that trait of having no ties. Okay, Now imagine you were told you were going to die in the very next second. Could you, in that instant, honestly say you have no regrets, no one you'd miss, no fear? Could you truly be free of every attachment at the exact moment of your death? It's almost impossible to imagine.
So here's the big twist. That shortcut, it was never actually a shortcut for us. It wasn't a how-to guide at all. It was just a description. The text concludes that these 8 traits are just the defining characteristics of beings who are born different, people who have what the author calls an immortal root. It's not something you learn. It's something you either are or you aren't.
The text leaves us with this famous Chinese proverb that just perfectly sums up the whole message. It's easier to change rivers and mountains than to change one's nature. I mean, that really says it all. After this whole journey looking for the ultimate shortcut, the text brings us right back to its first point. Our fundamental nature is maybe the most immovable thing there is. And that leaves us with this huge, lingering question. If this ancient text is right, if our core nature is as fixed as a mountain, what does that mean for self-improvement, for growth, for the whole idea that we can become better versions of ourselves? Is our nature our destiny? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.